What's up, friends? ¿Qué pasó, mi amigos? All right, I'm driving right now, so I'm going to be loosely looking at the phone. I had a couple of things on my mind. I never share these types of thoughts and experiences online. For whatever reason, it's too much time to build out content, edit, and submit, and I don't have things polished. Sometimes I don't know if it's useful for other people. But I had a friend of mine recently challenge me to begin sharing struggles, share experiences where things aren't currently working out versus sharing the triumph from a hardship that I went through and found the way through it, and then could say like, hey, I figured it out, here's how you do it, versus being like, man, I'm in the middle of a mess and it's hard, it's a struggle, it's frustration. So that prompting from a conversation a couple days ago led to something this morning that reminded me of a phrase that a Navy SEAL leader, a friend of mine at our men's leadership program at our church. His name's Garrett Unkelbach. He leads us every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. It's called Mighty Men. And in there, he says a lot of quotes from our pastor, Keith Craft. And one of those quotes is, give God something to work with and give man something to respect. This morning, I got to lead worship at the event before handing it over to Garrett to share us a lot of good takeaways for kicking off the new year and also reflecting on last year, making some adjustments. What do we need to leave behind? What do we need to pick up? What do we need to be committed to? Consistency. So a friend of mine, after hearing Garrett, he ducked out because he had a rough week and rough month and was feeling disqualified in a lot of areas and didn't want to be there for the small group breakout session that we have afterwards. And so he peaced out, but one of my buddies saw him and was like, what's up? And he's like, I'm not doing well. So my buddy told me, hey, go check on him. So I got to go out there and have a conversation. And we talked a good bit about the struggle of seeing so many other people looking like they're performing at such a high level, looking like they have success in all areas, looking like their life is easy, the Instagram life, and feel like he was feeling frustrated of like, man, a lot of the things he's been doing just don't seem to work. And he's struggling to be consistent. He's struggling to, have progress or breakthrough, struggling in his marriage. And he's like, I feel embarrassed to be in this space because everyone else just seems to be, perfect. And I was like, man, I'll be the first one to tell you, I struggle in so many things that I have so many issues with consistency and follow through in areas. I feel exhausted all the time. I don't have the energy I used to have when I was in my 20s. I don't feel like things are working out like I expected them to in several areas of my life. But I'm sure that most people would look at me and think that everything goes smoothly, everything works out. I never have any failure, I never have any heartbreak. Like, I had a relationship I got into last year with an amazing woman, but it didn't work. It wasn't quite right, and it was heartbreaking to go through another season of hopeful, almost, maybe marriage, didn't work out, and then the disappointment, the frustration, and then all the reminders from people, oh, you'll find someone eventually. When you quit looking, eventually it'll pop up. And other people are like, you should be intentionally searching and looking around to find someone. All that relationship advice from someone who got married when they were 20 years old, doesn't know what it's like these days. Anyway, that's beside the point. So this friend was talking about some of these struggles and feeling ashamed really to open up about it because I thought everyone else was doing perfect. I was like, man, I totally get where you're at. I feel you because I struggle with the same thing. I feel like I'm in the same season in certain parts of my life. And I was like, but I bet there's some things you can reflect on to really feel like you've moved forward in the past couple of years. Because perspective is always so powerful. And it's easy to get discouraged. But when we can reflect on, man, I'm better than I used to be. And I'm not as far along as I want to be. But things have grown and progressed. Thank you, God, for that. And as I look back on this year, this was a great year in so many ways, and it was a really hard year in so many ways. And I'm sure many of us can reflect on that and agree that sometimes things go your way or you get some wins you weren't expecting. Other times it's like you take some L's and some things you thought were going to be a success or were going to work or were going to hit. you feel frustrated or lonely, or the relationship didn't happen, or the relationship didn't work out, or the new job or your current job is just like, you can't do this anymore. You just feel stuck. I'm being reminded to be more transparent with my life in the hardship, in the in-between spaces. And it's tough for me. I love to encourage people. I love to stay positive. I am, generally speaking, very positive. And I don't like to make excuses. Not at the same time, I struggle with so many things. I struggle with identity at times. I struggle with confidence. I struggle with insecurity. I struggle with belief. I struggle with, is stuff ever going to work out? Like, am I going to get life figured out? Well, I don't know that the point of life is to figure it out, but I know one of the keys is continue to show up. So I'll close on a funny story. Because my buddy God met him today, he had breakthrough today. Because he showed up even though he didn't feel like it. And he left early, and God still met him there. And I'm thankful I got to be a part of that. The story is, back in college, man, I used to party a lot. I'd go out drinking Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night as well. Dancing, drinking, hanging out with my friends. Fun, mostly. Stupid sometimes. But I always had kind of this guilty conviction as well of like, man, I'm not living in God's will. I'm not doing life the way I'm designed to or supposed to. But man, those Christians are so freaking boring. And I need a little bit more excitement in my life. Well, so I made a commitment to myself. I was like, you know what, Nate? You can go out and party. But I want you to commit to still showing up Sunday mornings to your church. And I was part of a great church, had a great pastor, Pastor James Skinner. I just got to meet up with him a few weeks ago over in Ruston, Louisiana. Went to Louisiana Tech University, North Louisiana, for those of you geographically challenged. And so I'd go out and I'd party, but I'd wake up on 4 hours of sleep, on 5 hours of sleep, and I'd get back up and I'd go to church. I would still show up there, and I'd be in the back, I'd be hungover, I'd be sleepy, I'd feel embarrassed and ashamed, but I'd still be there. And man, there were, I swear, every Sunday, I mean, I did this for years, I would hear something, God would speak to me, God would teach me something, I'm taking notes. As terrible as I felt, and I was like, you know, I didn't want to look anyone in the eyes, because sometimes I'd see someone I saw out the night before, and we'd both look at each other and be like, don't tell anyone we were out partying last night. So, but most of the time I was just kind of like looking down, like my shirt still might have smelled like cigarette smoke. I didn't smoke, but a lot of the bars back then, they had people that was smoking, so you'd come out smelling like a bar. So in that, I'd still sit down and just suffer through some of that perceived embarrassment. But God always met me there and taught me something that was powerful. And those were still formative years of me learning and developing in so many areas. And now, once I got free from the party side of things, I don't need that to feel happy or significant or de-stress. I get that joy from Jesus now. But it was a funny thing to look back on. And I just say that story to remind you, wherever you are in your life, in your process, be willing to show up even if you're not the best, even if you don't look the most prepared, even if you don't feel like you got it together, even if you feel like others are doing it so much better. One, many of them aren't. They're faking it. They're struggling. Some of them who are the most vocal and the most confident are the ones who are the most phony. Not everyone, but some of them. So don't be intimidated by that. The ones who really want to see you succeed are the ones who are usually succeeding well. And so when I'm doing well in life, I'm so excited to see someone else be real with where they are and be encouraged to move forward instead of discouraged or talked down on. So I want to end with that stuff just to say, keep showing up, even if you don't feel like you got it all together. Most people don't. The ones that do, they're going to celebrate you and continue to help you move forward. So I hope that's an encouragement. I didn't share anything super specific from my life, but I've had plenty of struggles in 2022. And I've had to just be consistent and show up, and it hasn't been exciting, it hasn't been glamorous, it hasn't been sexy. It's been a lot of disappointment. And yet, I know God's faithful. He'll continue to prepare me for greater things, just as He will yourself. So stay in the game. Get ready for 2023 as we close out 2022. Give God something to work with. Give people something to respect. Dios te bendiga. Adiós, mis amigos.